Hello, can I be heard? Is anybody on? A few people are on. I just want to make sure that you can hear me. Can you hear me? I'm good. Okay. Well, hello. Welcome to the Black Ponderer. I'm Neil Trotter. And today we're going to be talking about the philosophy of live streaming. No, I'm just messing around. Yeah, so we're gonna just hang out for a little bit. This is going to be, part a little celebratory video celebrating, 7 years. I didn't know when I made the previous video that it was that many years since I put up this YouTube channel. So that's pretty cool. 7 years. And okay, so we got a few people. I'll just say hello to Quentin. Uh, hello, yep, Quentin and Mava. Oh, I don't know if I pronounce your name right. Hopefully that's cool. And then I got, correct me if I'm wrong. And then we got Doctrine Marxist 39. Hello, how's it going? I don't expect too many people, which is cool. It's a nice chill live stream. We'll see what happens, how it goes. What else we got? Yeah, and so what the plan, the agenda is we're going to uh, do a random draw, which I already did like 10 minutes before the stream started of the winner, because I got to make sure that the person is subscribed to the channel. Got to do the little checks. Hello, Ben Tahoe. This is my first live stream on YouTube. I've done live streams with other platforms before, so this isn't my first rodeo with live streaming, or even like stuff like Zoom or all that kind of stuff. I've done the live stream. I'm hip to the internet. Okay. Yes. Cool. So I'm trying to figure out what I could do. Okay. So we're gonna do uh, the random draw for the winner of the giveaway, and then we're gonna answer questions. And if there's not too many questions, I'll just have a little bit of a philosophical discussion. Uh, which either way, that's cool with me. And you can also put your messages on the chat box, and I'll answer them if that's what you want to do. Or we can just talk about philosophy. This is a very open-ended type of live stream, trying to bring it back to how the Black Ponder does what the Black Ponder does. We are low budget, lo-fi, ghetto stream. That's how I roll, and I love it. Okay, so we did the random draw already. So before we get into some chat engagement, I did the draw, and it is for the books. In case you don't know, it is for this book, The Warmth of Other Suns, and it's for this book. I got it right here. It's Caste. Um, these are great books on history and the present, African American history, and they're amazing books. Some of the best books I've ever read. They're by the author Isabel Wilkerson, who is, she's an amazing writer. And so, who is this person that won those books? His name is, or his YouTube name, or her YouTube name, I don't know. Can't tell by the picture. It is a Columbus Moore. I believe that's how you say it. Columbus Moore. Moore. He says, "I'd like to join the giveaway, but I really enjoyed your thoughts on America, race, and philosophy. A friend mentioned earlier that she was currently reading Emma Orr in her thoughts on Immanuel Kant. I had no idea who they were, so I had to go digging. Haha. I guess that's what makes reading and learning fun and interesting. Yeah, yeah. You learn when you read, and you discover new uh, authors and books, and you gain knowledge, and it's a lot of fun. Well, Columbus Moore, I hope you learned some more because you won. Hopefully, I'm sure you could post these up on the YouTube after we're done. So, I'll send you a message, or you can send me a message. We do the PM and give me your mailing address, and I can mail those to you. And it is cool. Of course, this is I all of my live streams, because I got a connection. It's international. Anywhere FedEx ships. So just let me know. Okay, so that was the person. Unfortunately, sorry for those who did not win. But hopefully these books are maybe in your local library, or maybe you can buy them. That would be cool. Or get an ebook. They're great books. I learned a lot. You can learn a lot about history and why America is in its current state. Because we're all kind of coming to terms with that. Let us see some chats. Okay. Okay, what's going on here? Okay, Ben Tahoe, you were telling me, heck yeah, I love literature and philosophy. Keep up the good work. I can't tune in right now. Okay, that's cool, understandable. But I will say, please read more Santayana. Okay, I know there's going to be a lot of that recommendations. So I have this. I'll just open up notebook or notepad. Add to my queue of reading. So that's what I love to do. Santayana. And I love discussing that, and would be happy to do that with you. Seneca, Aurelius, Montaigne, and also favorites. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm familiar with that. And Sunny, hello, Sunny. Cool to see you do a live stream. Yeah, I got to get with the YouTube cats. Got to do what all these other people are doing. It's fun. Live streams are fun. Let's see. How are you? I'm fine. I'm cool. Just chilling on a Saturday. Mava. Let's see. Skeptical Day Dazai. I don't know if I said that right. Sorry. Love your content. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Quiet Philosophy. Do you think about animal ethics ever? Yes. Actually, my wife is a vegan, and the reason why she's a vegan is because that's her main. It's all about reducing animal cruelty. So that's a big issue that we talk about that a lot. Let's see. Bananas. It's been 7 years. That's a while. What philosophy do you use to cope during the pandemic? We'll talk. That's one of the things I want to talk to you about. I don't know if there's anything specific, but I will talk to you about some philosophy that you can use during this situation, the pandemic, and just the times in general. Yeah, I'll bring that up later as a main topic of the discussion. Toy noise. Hey, hello. Let's go to I'm not very organized. I'm sorry. Let's go to the video, the previous video, and look up some questions that people have asked. I should have already had that open. I thought I did, but apparently I didn't, which does not surprise me at all. Fortunately, my internet's not too slow. Okay, I'm just looking through these comments to see if anybody asked some questions, because I saw a few questions, and also you can always just put some questions in the chat box in case you want to have me answer them. Okay, let's see. Giveaway. Yeah, thanks, Steve. Yep. Dope. Okay, thank you. It brought me to understand that. Okay. No questions so far. Thank you. Found out your channel a month ago. Yeah, a lot of people found me through Kant. My Kant, the Critique of Pure Reason video, which is interesting because that video it went a whole nother direction than most people went to. I went kind of through I used race as an example, which I got a lot of flack for that. but I thought it was a good example. I thought it was a great way to apply Kant's philosophy to our current times. Because the continental philosophers can get very abstract, and you're reading it, and you're like, well, how the hell do I actually apply this to today's world, or like, how can I use this to practically, which is and I do know a lot of people who study philosophy and then they get to those continental philosophers, and that's when they fall off because they're like, okay, I don't. This is just too much. Like, it's not that they don't understand; it's that they don't really know how. It doesn't seem useful to them because it's just so kind of out there. So I tried to do that. Used an example to bring it toward today's world, to the how we can apply that today. Because you definitely can apply a lot of Kant's philosophy. It's very useful. You just gotta kind of get through his code language. Let me continue looking through this comment section. Let's just okay. Love. So thank God. Love. Okay, I'm interested in take part. I love our first. Yep. Some people are trying to put multiple comments, trying to increase their chances of. Well, you can easily filter out. That's not even the challenge. Uh, Thank you so much. You would like to get. Yeah, I should have went through these so I can. Yeah, something interesting. Okay, it's not that many questions, which is totally fine. Totally fine. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. Somebody asks, Wyatt Wright, give me your thoughts on the intellectual dark web. Your thoughts on SJWs and anti-SJWs. Thoughts on Mark Fisher. Thoughts on the rise of inequality in the world right now. Okay, first of all, my thoughts on the dark web. I don't really know. I'm not familiar with the dark web. Maybe somebody can tell me what that is. I mean, I know there's a lot of like underground stuff that goes on. That's illegal. And you mean black market stuff? I don't. I don't know what the dark web is in terms of what you're talking about specifically. But if you want to break that down in the chat, that would be cool. Your thoughts on social justice warriors? I think social justice warriors are great, and it's sad that is an insult. That's kind of ridiculous in my mind that people that's used as a bad thing. Social, you should fight for social equality. That's good, is it not? I don't understand. Like, was it Jesus a social justice? Like, or is it the most moral, the heroes of our time, social justice warriors? I don't understand why that's a bad thing. I don't get it. And it just tells you the times that we live in. Anti-social, people. Yeah, this whole movement, which is not new, where people are calling people snowflakes and saying that people are weak because they actually care about other people and you need to be strong. But it's not new. I remember I was watching, there's a documentary that came out not too long ago about what's it, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Very good documentary. I think it was last year it came out. No, not 2020, 2019. I think it came out. And they were talking about how he got a lot of flack. People were like saying that they were calling him evil because people were saying that he was training kids to care too much about others and making them weak. It's like, yeah, that was the thing. Like, you see that type of nonsense. Yeah, so I'm all for social justice warriors, and I hope that I would call myself. I don't know if I'm a warrior yet, but I am for social justice. So hey, I don't see that as a bad thing. I don't know who Mark Fisher is. I'm not to say that he's a nobody. I'm not the most knowledgeable when it comes to the intellectuals of today. Thoughts on the rising inequality in the world right now? Well, it's not rising inequality, right? It's not. It's always inequality has existed all the time, right? And I know that's sad, but now we're getting a spotlight is being put on it because of all the stuff that's going on. But yeah, it's been inequality has just existed been existing all the time. Uh, it's just yeah, you look at it's just it reminds me, we'll get political. I'm all down, I'll talk about the politics, but yeah, the Black Lives Matter movement, and uh, people are just shocked because they're seeing, all the police brutality, and it's like, where have you been? It's like, I don't understand what rock did you live under? Remember NWA with Ice Cube, and he was saying "F the police," right? And then that type of that's been around for a long time. I grew up in Oakland, California, in the urban areas of that, and that was the thing that I grew up with. So and that's it's bad. We need to improve. We need to like do something about that. So yeah, I think a lot of people are kind of having these honestly existential crises right now, or just breaking down because they're realizing like, oh, this is actually happening. Oh yeah, no, it's been happening. Okay, let's see some more questions. I'll just go with YouTube. I'm not really participating to go away. No, okay, I want to do more. Thought I'd like to appreciate. Okay. Uh oh, somebody is coming in. I thought I. If you excuse me, my wife is coming through the door. I think I need to open the door for her. Oh, she got it. Okay, cool. Hello. They're right. She's got it open. Okay. All right. So let me go back to more answering questions. I may be late to the game, but I like to be a part of the giveaway. Nope. Oh, question. How old are you? I'm 36 years old. Uh, what is your favorite beverage? My favorite beverage, I think, is what I see it in a lot of Asian restaurants, plum wine. Plum wine is very good. I love plum wine. Yeah, that is my favorite beverage. It's nice and sweet and is also alcoholic. And I'm all about the alcohol, but with moderation. Love you, man. Okay, cool. Love you too. you grew, you grew a beard like Mark's. There's this comment. You grew a beard like Mark's. It's that quarantine beard because I work from home, so I'm just too lazy to shave it. That's what it is. I am feeling very lucky. Let's see. Us too. He feels lucky, but he didn't win. Oh well. Because I see no question here. Okay. My friend. Sure, she likes. Oh, that's the one. That's the person that won. Columbus Moore. Okay, winner. Yeah, lovely. I'm interested. Okay, here's a question from a Literally Graphic. That is a great YouTube channel. Check that channel out. Literally Graphic. That channel is a comic book and graphic novel channel, which I love those, but it has that SJW focus to it. It's all about social justice. So it focuses a lot on, it looks at indie, it does mainstream comics, but the channel also focuses on a lot of indie comics and graphic novels as well, and it does manga too. And one of my favorite channels. And they ask, as far as questions go, as someone who is very bad at debate, I find a lot of reasons for why it isn't useful. Your thoughts on debating as a concept could be interesting, but I shall try to make it to the live stream. Okay, I don't know if you're actually in a live stream, but if you're not, we'll post it. What do I think about debating? Yeah, I think the debate is critical, right? Very important. Yeah, it's sad that we live in a situation where we can't have critical debate without feeling attacked. That's a shame because um, it's a very important to, we all have disagreements and we don't agree on everything. And, and I think it is important to talk about our disagreements with each other, right? And also it's very important to talk about extreme disagreements, right? Um, but we have to talk about it in a way that's progressive and constructive and not trying to tear each other down. Um, there was an article I recently read. Let me see if I can pull that up or at least mention it, uh, where it talks about cancel culture, which is a thing nowadays. That's always been around, but now that's the new term they're putting it under. Uh, yeah, let me see if I could actually post this on the chat. It is a old school radical feminist, and she talks about how she discusses her experience with debating. There it is. If you would like to check that out. Um, and she talks about how, I'll just read this quote. You can't be responsible for someone else's inability to grow. Let's say you're debating with somebody. And, a lot of people, they just don't want to hear it. You can throw all the facts and figures and like truth at them, and they just don't want to move. They don't want to budge. They just refuse to listen. Uh, so, you're not responsible for that. Uh, so what she says is take comfort in the fact that you offered a new perspective of information and you did so with love and respect, and then you walk away. That's all you can do. Uh, at the end of the day, it's hard to change people's minds. What I like to think of, because, I've changed my mind throughout the years about all types of issues that are like taboo, like religion. For example, I'm pro abortion access, and I wasn't always like that. And it's interesting because I was not taught to not be against abortion. That's just like the default position that I grew up in, um, just default position. And I just listened to like the arguments, and I just came to the conclusion like, okay, I guess, reading a lot of theologians and religious scholars, and also, feminists and social justice warriors and things like that, and also a lot of the fundamentalist Christians and out there. This is just an example, and I felt that their argument was pretty weak. So I think there's a lot of people out there who are open to listening to the argument. I think there's a lot of loud people that kind of drown, or you have this impression that everybody is going to take an extreme stance because the people who are extreme, they're so loud, right? And so you don't have this idea that there are people who actually will listen to, you know, sensible debates. And so when I'm debating on via the YouTube comments, I am thinking about the person that I'm debating with, but I'm also thinking about the other people who are going to read the comments later, who are like, because most people who watch YouTube videos, they don't comment on videos, but they do. A lot of people do read comments, and I like to put the points out there, and maybe you won't change the person you're debating with their mind, but uh, you might change the mind of the person that's reading, and you might not even change their mind, but you're giving them knowledge, right? You're giving them a different perspective. And I always think like that because that's happened to me. Like I've seen two people argue and neither of them budge, but by looking at them arguing and debating, I actually budged. Like I actually changed my mind. Uh, how do you get better at debating? Well, reading philosophy is a great way to do that. Uh, that's a great way to do that because philosophy gives you a great um, these philosophical texts teaches you how to present arguments in a very structured and logical format, as well as it teaches you how to you know present facts and figures in a way that's convincing, right? You know, and citation is important, right? Where are you actually getting your information from? Philosophy does that, and also, a great way to practice debating is doing it online via words. Comment, typing it instead of like actually like talking. That's because when you do it online, you have time to type it out and structure your arguments, uh, and that'll give you practice. So then, when you're actually like face to face with somebody, you're kind of more used to doing that. So I encourage you to use that YouTube comment section, or go to the message boards like Reddit and such, and just type it out, because you might see the response and you have time to think it through. Honestly, that's probably the best way to debate, right? To do it via, have time. And oh, my wife is talking about table topics. So I met my wife through this organization called Toastmasters. Toastmasters is a nonprofit, uh, public speaking. Um, what else? Public speaking, but on top of that is leadership. Yeah, leadership organization. You might have heard it. It's a very popular organization, and it was just a great way for me to practice public speaking and leadership. And they have you do these meetings where you go up and you talk in front of people to practice that. Also, that's a great way to practice not so much debate, but presenting a point, and uh, you know, in a way that's cohesive and logical and convincing. And there's a section of there's different kinds of ways you can public speak. One of them is called table topics, where you have 1 to 2 minutes to make a point. Like somebody will you'll get a prompt to discuss something, and then you'll have 1 to 2 minutes to like respond to that prompt any way you want. And that's a great. And when they actually have competitions for this too, so you can use it in a way so you can not compete and just get used to like organizing your idea in a quick way, and that's very concise. And then you can get into the competitions where it'll really force you to learn how to respond in a very concise and cohesive manner that's convincing. So that's another way to do it. Try to check out Toastmasters. There's Toastmasters groups all around the world. It's a global organization. That's a great way to do it, maybe. So yeah, I think debating is good. There are a lot of people who are like, I just don't do that. I don't do that. I don't argue with people. And there's a difference between arguing and debating, right? I don't want to do that, and I understand, because there's a lot of people, and trust me, I run into a lot of those people, uh, where there's just like, okay, I know I'm not convincing this person anything. They've already come with their preconceived notions, or they're just trying to put up a ruckus. They don't really believe in anything that they're saying. They're just trying to get a rise out of you. I guess you call those people trolls. Uh, so you can't focus on those people. You focus on the people who actually want to listen. And fortunately, on my channel, I got a lot of those people. I like this comment. I don't know if this is a joke or not. I'll read it. Forat, he says, "Hey, Black Ponder, I'm not black nor white, and I don't you should blame all black people problems on the white man." That's what he said. I get a lot of those kinds of comments. It, first of all, it's not structured. Let me see if I'll say it in a way that's not grammatically incorrect. I'm not black or nor white, and you should not blame all black people problems on the white man. Right. So that was me doing a spell check and a sentence check. And I don't think anybody on this chat is feels like I do that, because I don't. I got many white buddies and white friends. My wife is white, considered white. Uh, yeah. So I don't blame all uh, black problems on white people. But I do want to bring into the attention, and I talk about this a lot, why I call myself the Black Ponder is because I don't believe in this color blindness thing. I think race is an issue, as we've seen with the other questions that are talking about the rise of inequality, as if it's a rise, that not understanding that it's always been the case. And people say that they say like there's a rise because people don't acknowledge that race exists, right? And so we did the giveaway, right? And we got these books where uh, that is a thing. That is a thing. So let's go through chat and let's see if somebody asked questions here or not. Okay, what philosophy do you use to cope with? Oh yeah, okay, we'll get to that. What do you think of the critique of pure reason? Well, you can check out my video on the critique of pure reason. I'll give you a great analysis of what I think about it. I think it is a great book. I don't think it's a first book you should read if you're getting into philosophy, but I think it's, if you want to seriously get into philosophy, I think you should read the Kant's Critique of Pure Reason. It's pretty thick. um, it is very complicated. It's filled with a lot of jargon because Kant is like that. He likes his jargon, and you kind of have to decode it. But just sit down and read it. Just read it. Just take your time with it. It's no rush. We live in a world where everybody's trying to rush through books. Just take your time. But yeah, check out my video for that. What books do you recommend to start reading philosophy? Frequently asked question. I recommend Plato's dialogues. Specifically, what is it? I don't even know. Credo, Erythro, the Apology. Basically, the dialogues that when you put them together, they make up Socrates, the trial and death of Socrates. That's a great starting point for uh, for philosophy. If you're like, okay, I want to get into this, that's great because they're very short and they're not filled with jargon at all. They're very straightforward, but they have strong philosophical ideas, and the philosophical ideas are foundational because almost all philosophy, and you read philosophy books, they're rooted in what's being said in those books. So you get a good foundation. So I recommend that. And then I also recommend go to some Eastern philosophy. And you might think like, well, Western philosophy, that's only what's been being discussed here in the West. And, that's not true, right? And if you read like the Tao Te Ching, which is a Taoist work, which is a philosophy, uh, that has a lot of philosophy that we here in the West have adopted. You read that book and you'll come to terms with, oh, okay, like there's actually a lot of this I see in America because it's also one of those hugely foundational books. Uh, so yeah, going to the Eastern philosophy as well. Uh, yeah, so I recommend that book. That's also a very easy book to read, but it's like a lot of philosophies in that book. The Tao Te Ching. Oh, so quick fire. Okay, I gotta be quick. How did you get into philosophy? Man, I guess I got into philosophy through anime. You said quick. That's it. What's the origin story of your YouTube channel? Uh, that's a long story, but you said quick fire. Yeah. So, uh, basically, my company, my small business, kind of was going through hard times, and I was depressed, and I wanted to do something to to get me happy again. So that's why I started it. Not pressuring. Did you go to high school? What was your experience? Yeah, I went to high school. Um, it was all right. I didn't like school. I had buddies, and I learned a lot. I was one of those kids who just, I was one of those kids like, man, I hate school. Growing up. Uh, but looking back, I can't really say there was anything particular. I mean, I wasn't bullied or anything. I just didn't like school, but I got good grades and stuff. What books are you reading now? Well, currently, right now, I am reading the Hegel's uh, History of Philosophy. I got to think about that because he wrote a book called The Philosophy of History. Then he wrote another volume of work called The History of Philosophy, Philosophy of History, History of Philosophy. So I gotta think all by reading the History of Philosophy, Volume Two. That's what I read right now. It's a long book, but I like it because it's giving me an understanding of how the guy thinks, how Hegel, his mind works. So when I get to his later works or his more popular works, I think I'll be better prepared to read his works because I'll be able to understand what he's where he's coming from. Let's see. The Republic is probably a good start. The Republic is good. The Republic is also not the easiest book in the world, but yeah, that's a nice place to start. Yeah, the Republic's a nice place to start. Yeah, but you will. It's not as easy as the dialogue. So I'll say that. Let's see here. What's your thoughts about the Brothers Karamazov? I love that book. I have a video on that book too. Uh, I love that book. I think that book is a great explanation of if you're a Christian and you are going through like bouts of faith, like when if you're questioning your faith or the struggles of being a Christian, and you might think like, what are you talking about? Like it's easy to be like Christianity is preferred in America, like, but if you take Christianity seriously, like if you're not spouting that hateful kind of Christianity, if you're really taking it seriously, and you're going to go through some problems of you're going to encounter some spiritual struggles, and Brothers Karamazov really goes deep into that. That's why I love that book. Thanks. Those are my few questions. Cool. The intellectual dark web is basically the intellectual dark web is Jordan Peterson. That's who it is. Yeah, I can't really get into that guy Peterson. I tried because he's like very popular, so I tried to look into him, and I checked his book out at the library, and I'm like, yeah, not really my cup of tea. uh, and Sam Harris are intellectual against. Yeah, they are. See, that's why. I also I actually have a few of Sam Harris's books. I bought them like cheap for like one his letters on Sam Harris. I think his letters on a Christian or something like that. I forgot. Uh, letters to a non-Christian, something like that. But he's like talking about how Christianity supports like all these bad things, but he like just grabs Bible verses out of the Bible and like out of complete context and doesn't do any historical analysis. It's like very amateurish to be honest with you. I think Sam Harris, he calls himself an armchair philosopher. That's pretty much what he's like, an armchair. He's not a serious philosopher. I hate to be mean like that, but he doesn't really put in the work. He kind of like rides that mainstream wave that's going on right now. The intellectual dark web is not actually the dark web. He's talking about. Oh, okay, so that's what this is. Oh, Ben Shapiro, like all those people. Yeah, yeah, those people are just riding this mainstream wave. Like that's very pop. It's kind of like the anti. It's the answer trying to go against the whole social justice movement, basically, and they're trying to create this anti-movement that's intellectual, but it's not. It's kind of anti-intellectual. But if you wanted me to talk more about that, I can. What do you think of psychoanalysis, Lacan? I have not read Lacan, but one day I'll get to him. That's what I need to get into. Psychoanalysis. The only type of psychoanalysis stuff I've read through is I read a lot of Freud, and it's a philosophy of Some of it's very interesting. Some of it's kind of out there. Uh, but I think there's pros and cons to it. Jesus was the I'm telling you, man, he was a social justice warrior. He was for social equality. I don't understand. Oh, hey, there's so many Christians out there who are like anti-social justice when Jesus was social justice. I don't get it. Is it like yeah, like this? Lindis says Peterson is an intellectual. Yeah, I mean, come on. I mean, again, I'll be to talk shit, but at the same time, if you actually read his books, you'll be like, I don't really see any like academic. I see a lot of like philosophical musing, but in terms of like academic rigor, I'm not seeing it. Let's see, actually, a really honest guy. Yeah, Peterson's an honest guy, but that doesn't mean he's a good philosopher. But to each their own. If you're into him, that's cool. I'm not really a fan of intellectual dark web. Yeah, me neither. I don't. Okay, okay. Let's school some people. I know, right? We'll get into some more discussion, but I find it is interesting because there was he Peterson had a debate with I can't pronounce that guy's name. The Zizek. I can't even pronounce the guy's name. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, but very another very popular philosopher about Marx. And I think Peterson, he only read the Communist Manifesto, or like if that. He didn't even read any of that. I mean, he barely read any Marx. It's like, come on, man, you gotta prepare. You gotta prepare yourself. That's what I heard. I'm not sure if that's true, but I'm like, but it does sound typical. That's typical of him. Let's see. What is your favorite philosopher? My favorite philosopher is I don't know if they consider themselves a philosopher. I heard them say that th- they consider themselves what is it, a critical theorist, but it's Judith Butler. Judith Butler is my favorite philosopher. Um, and if you don't know her, know them, check them out. Look them up. Mark Fisher is a good author, but I'm sure the person's very popular, but I don't know. Lower between no, and that's true. So Wyatt puts they are saying inequality did lower between 1945 and 1970. But it's true. Like we are getting better. Like it's not as bad as it was in the 60s, right? I can sit in the front of the diner without worrying about getting beat up, right? I mean, I can sit in the back of the bus, in the front of a bus, right? I mean, you get you. That's a thing that we do need to acknowledge. That's very important. You don't want to discount all the efforts that were made. I'm actually currently, right now, I'm reading this collection right here. Oh, it's in reverse. It's too. It's it's March. It's a graphic novel and it's about John Lewis, civil rights activist, and it's a graphic novel. And shoot, you talk about like, and that's one of the things I want to talk about in the live stream is he's saying that times are hard now, and times are hard. Times are really hard. Global pandemic, economy's really hurting right now. People out of work. um, People are really getting coming to terms with the social inequality. I mean, it's difficult right now for a lot of people, but man, it was very hard during this man's like the stuff he had to go through, and what a lot of like people of color had to go through to fight for civil rights. And I am the result of that. I benefit greatly from the sacrifices and the pain and suffering they went through. uh, it was very hard for them. So uh, yeah, so it has gotten better, and that's something that we should remember. it started to increase very quickly. Maybe. I don't know. Do life and eternal story? Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. Any more? I feel like debt has become essential to you. That's true. That's true. Debt is really putting people down. One thing I feel like, one of most the reasons most people aren't dead is because they go to college, and that's hugely true in America, or that's quite true in America. And I feel like there's a reason for that. And I don't want to, I don't think this is a conspiracy theory. I think that education is power, knowledge is power, and so you want to restrict education to as many people as possible so then the people aren't powerful. And how do you do that? You make it very expensive, right? That way people don't gain knowledge, they don't gain education. And let's think about that. One of the skills you learn in education is debating, right? And talking with people who you disagree with. College is a safe place. The university is a safe place where that happens, where people learn how to discuss and debate, and you write essays and you form arguments and you learn how to cite your resources. And the thing is, people aren't getting not that kind of knowledge, right? They're not learning how to do that, and you're seeing that. You're seeing the result of that. People are confronted with ideas, and they don't really know how to, uh, you know, come to terms with their disagreements, or when they think something is true, and then they're exposed to an alternative. They don't really know how to rationalize it, because you learn that in school, right? And that's just getting taken away from us, and it's become making us less powerful. And yeah, it is sad. Like, school is way too expensive, and I think it's because it's a way to make people less powerful. America for a small time, for example, America for a small time in the mid 19th century was less than equal. Okay, yep, that's true. I'm just reading through the chat here, trying to look for questions. I look very good for 36. 36 is not old. That is not old. I don't know, man. That's not old. To me, you look the same in your 20s as in your 30s? I think so. No. 36 is like not old. It's not young, but it's not old. Yeah, it is. It is according to my beard has gotten me. Yeah. Everybody's beard. People are starting to neglect. Nobody wants to get a haircut because of the quarantine. Finishing the last days of Socrates. Okay. Yeah, that's great. You want to transition to someone who isn't Plato to read. This is Alan Davis. Uh, a great transition is Aristotle. Now, Aristotle, he doesn't have those dialogues, so his stuff is a little bit harder. Is a little harder. But if you've read a lot of Plato, a great transition would be Aristotle. Yeah, but he's a little bit harder. Let's see. Oh, yep. Thanks. Literally graphic is saying thanks. Yes. Thank you for being on the stream. Have you read any books by Helvetica Neptune? Have you read any books by Nassim Talib? No. I'll put that on my notes though. So get ready to for many people to ask, have you read this? Do you know this person? No, no. I'm going to respond, no, no, no. And it's going to be a shame because these people are probably very popular. Dude, nothing gets solved in debate. I disagree. I disagree. Yeah, I have thought a certain way, and someone has debated me, and I was convinced. I was convinced. Maybe I'm an exception to the rule. People have turned me around through debate. have made me think differently. So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm one of a rare exception. Up. Have I read any Paul Rocour? Rocour? No, I haven't. Sorry. Uh, Okay, Alacon. Had a discussion with you once about not to resist evil. I am more in view of Tolstoy's The Kingdom of God is Within. I definitely got to read some Tolstoy. I have War and Peace. I think that's Tolstoy. That is definitely going to be a video that is coming up for sure. I just got to fit it in there because I hear War and Peace has a lot of philosophy. Uh, you can review your thoughts. Are you familiar with Tolstoy's view on this? No, I'm not really familiar with that author. Although I know Tolstoy, like Dostoevsky, he puts a lot of philosophy in his novels. So I definitely got to read him. You'll you'll see those videos eventually. Oh, this is what people talk about when they talk about the chat skips. Yeah, the chat just did a. I went bloop. Okay, let me get back. I lost my. Okay, I'm back. Hang on, if okay, here we go. Yeah, you don't know. It's a gradual process. Where did you get your background in philosophy? What do you mean? Like, how did I get into philosophy? Uh, yeah, as mentioned before, now this is not quick fire, right? I, my brother, my older brother, worked at a music shop back when that was Sam Goody or Virgin Records or one Tower Records, one of those CD stores, and they were experimenting and they were selling anime. But this was before anime was very popular. It was on VHS tapes. They were just experimenting, and they didn't sell the anime, so they just gave them out to the employees. And my brother got a lot of those, and he got an anime called Akira. He got Akira and Ghost in the Shell, and I saw those two animes, and they blew my mind because I did not understand. I was like maybe 9 years old. I know they're like for adults. They got like lots of violence and nudity, but I just loved. I watched those those Japanese animations that I did not understand anything. I didn't get it, and I was like, "Whoa, what is going on?" But you could tell like they had these philosophical themes in them. They were trying to tell you something. It was just way over my head, and it got me really thinking. And I remember uh, I was like, I gotta look this up. I gotta look up where this stuff is coming from. And I guess I 36 is old, right? Because when I was that little, 9, the internet really wasn't a thing yet. I mean, it was around, but no, it wasn't. Not everybody had it yet, so you had to go to the library. So I went to the library and looked up like where, and they had like little books on analysis books on like anime and fiction, and they would reference like, oh, they're getting these ideas from these philosophers, and that really kicked me off, or kicked the really set me off to studying philosophy. There was others like Neon Genesis Evangelion. That was another one that just was like, whoa, what is this? That's a deeply philosophical one. There's a few. Those are my favorite kinds of anime. The ones that kind of like mind fucks. That really set me off. And then later, I had teachers because I liked reading in school. I didn't really um, like what was assigned to me, but I did like reading in school. And my teachers noticed that I liked reading, so they would give me philosophy books. And they're like, "Oh, I think you would like this," and together the anime and that it really helped me uh, get into philosophy. Let's see here. Is there a philosophy book that is mind blowing but isn't esoteric? Not Nietzsche. Oh, like is there a mind blowing philosophy book that's not super overly complicated. Let me think. Yeah, I guess Plato's philosophy. I mean, Plato's dialogues would be one. I'm trying to think. Is there? Oh, well, I was gonna say my favorite philosophy book is Walden by Henry David Thoreau, um, which is not overly complicated, but it uses the English. Maybe you can get an edition that does it have that really old English where they use that really antiquated English. That's the one I read. So a lot of people get turned off by that. But I think there are now editions where it's modern English. You could try that. Walden by Henry David Thoreau. What is your favorite continental philosopher of yours? Do I have a favorite continental philosopher? I don't think I do. I don't think I do. Hume, Kant, Hegel. Uh, yeah, I mean they're all equally good to me. I know some people will be like, "What? Kant isn't more equally good than Hegel." I don't know. They just don't. One doesn't call out more than another in my mind. What is your favorite analytical philosopher? Yeah, I don't have one. Analytic philosopher. What's my favorite? I don't have one. Are you a Buddhist? No, I'm a Christian. I'm a Lutheran Christian. But Buddhism is cool. I study Buddhism, and I have several Buddhist friends. Uh, some of my closest buddies are Buddhists. Protagonist of Tenet reminds me. Isn't the protagonist the guy that of Tenet? Isn't that the what is the Black Panther? I think that's who he is, which is a shame because he passed away. What is your favorite book in the Bible? I like Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes is my favorite book. That's when that's a shame. I can't. I gotta think. I think it's King Solomon. He is talking. That's where the quote from um, "There's nothing new under the sun" comes from, right? Vanity. Everything is vanity and vexation. I like that. I think somebody asked King Solomon, "What is it? How do you be a good king?" And he just goes on this rant. That's Ecclesiastes. It's like this. Like you think I know? You think I know? I'll tell you what he'll tell you all about how he feels about being a king and how he really just doesn't know anything. And it's like filled with contradictions and paradoxes, but it makes sense. It's very. I like it. It is also very straightforward too. Would you recommend meditations on first philosophy to a beginner? Yep. I That was one of the first philosophy books I read was Meditations on First Philosophy. Yeah, I sure would. You can start by reading. Okay, we got some recommendations in the chat. Cool. Russell is a bad way to get into philosophy, to be honest. Okay, so yep, got some recommendations. What's one of the weirdest but coolest books? What is one of the weirdest but coolest books you've ever read? Have I read any weird books? They're like, man, that is weird. Uh, yeah, I can't think of any book that I read and I put it down like, wow, that was really weird. I could think that for a lot of movies and animations, but books, I can't. I guess I'm just not as well read. No way, man. Ask that. Any work of analytic philosophy? Okay, there's some more recommendations. Okay, yep. High school is the worst. College is much better. Yep, for some people. College was cool. It was all right. There was some problems with college too, but it was okay. Was it better than high school? Yeah, I guess so. The history of thought in the history. Okay. Just looking for more questions in the chat. That's a good. That's a good way. Reading Hegel lectures. Hey guys. Okay. Introduction. Oh, okay. Brothers Karamazov introduced me to your channel. Yeah, that was that video got a lot of hits. Same with nature stuff. Yeah, if you want to get hits on YouTube, make a video about Nietzsche. That'll get you the hits. Probably the most popular philosopher. Yo, I was thinking like, is Nietzsche weird? No, not really. I mean, his books are kind of out there, but are they weird? Not the same thing. What are you currently reading right now? Like I said before. Of course, you might have popped on later. I'm reading the History of Philosophy by Hegel, Volume Two. What music do you listen to? I listen to all types of music, and I guess my favorite kind of music. I'm like one of these people who are obsessed with the '80s, so like that's pretty popular now. But I just like that synth '80s, like Depeche Mode, Pet Shop Boys, Eurythmics. What else? All those like synth pop bands from back in the day. All those what they call it, new wave bands. I really like that. I just like the synth as an instrument, the sound of the synth. But I listen to all types of music. I also like uh currently I'm listening to this artist called, or I think the band is called Reina Del Cid, which they just do folk rock music, and it's just guitar, bass, two guitar, drum. So all types of music. Listen to everything. You probably get that question a lot. Are you a fast reader? No, I'm a very slow reader actually. I take my time. Uh, and I don't know if it's just because I read really dense material. Maybe that's what's slowing me down. Maybe if I read like a young adult novel, like The Hunger Games, I'd speed through it. I don't know, because I read like a chapter of that, I think, and I don't remember how fast I was going. But I'm a very slow reader. Would you say you have experience in synesthesia with music and text? No, I don't even. I think I've heard of that. Isn't that like you see colors when you hear sounds or something? Synthetic. I have not experienced that. If you're asking me, I don't know. Maybe you're asking somebody else. That's Caroline Foley Asset. Okay. What would you philosophically identify yourself as? I like to identify myself as a transcendentalist, which is what Henry David Thoreau is. Emerson, I believe, also was that. I'm a person in terms of philosophy. I think the spiritual is the most important aspect in life, and I think that comes first above the material. And I think we should strive towards spiritual growth. I think that's what's most important in life, and that's a transcendentalist believe that, like to transcend the physical, not in like a Buddhist po- um, way necessarily. Although transcendentalism does take a lot of its ideas from Eastern philosophies like Buddhism and Hinduism. Uh, but yeah, I'm all about focusing on spiritual development, and not so much like spiritualism, like New Age type of stuff. Although I'm not necessarily against that, but I think spiritual development is of the most important. So transcendentalist. I agree with you a lot of Peterson's view of social issues, but when it comes to philosophical theory like Marxism, he isn't reliable nor educated. Yeah, again, just talking about the popular philosophers of the day and the mainstream, and how they're a lot of them aren't really up to snuff. Jung is really interesting to read. Yeah, that's another person I'll put him on the list. I know he's. I hear he's good. No way, man. This person says it's good because I asked, "What is the dark web?" I don't even. I didn't. I thought I was like black market or something. So, but this person says the intellectual dark web is just a group of people trying to make money off a trend. Deeply unserious group of people who are only in it for the grift. Yeah, kind of. If you're talking about that group of philosophers, quote unquote, although I would say they are philosophers, they're just bad philosophers. Sam Harris, Jordan Peterson, and I don't even know you put like Ben Shapiro in that group. I mean, is he? I don't. He's probably not a philosopher. He's like a critical thinker, I guess. That's like it's not that I don't agree with the most almost everything that he says, but it's not even that. It's just he just arguments are poor. They're just not. Uh, they're just not. They don't have any rigor to them. You can easily dispute them. So yeah, so then you have to question like, are they really doing it because they believe in these things, or are they just like, oh, this can make me a lot of money, so let me continue just saying this stuff so I can continue to make money. 10,000 crows. Are we supposed to only ask about books or career? Oh, you could ask anything. 10,000 crows in a trench coat. It's an AMA. Ask me anything. Uh-huh. I mean, of course, if it's too crazy, I just won't answer it. But I'm a pretty open person. Have you read any Giles Deleuze? I've heard that name, but I have not read the person. Mr. Ponder. Okay. What do you think about what's happening in the US right now? Do you think things will be okay here or nah? Yeah, so if you're what are you talking about specifically? You talking about like the economics going down. You talk about the how the pandemic is really hurting America more than the most out of all countries in the world, even though we're like one of the most powerful countries in the world. Or are you talking about the social upheaval and the denialism of presidential election results? You're talking about all that, or are you just talking about all of that? I assume you're talking about all of it. Yeah, it's just it's just sad, and I know a lot of people are really getting stressed out over it, and rightly so. It's just a lot of this is just coming to the forefront. It's coming to the spotlight, and sadly, I don't mean to say it flippantly, but it's all been there. This all this stuff has been in terms of like for let's even just talk about how badly America is being hit by this pandemic, right? You know, our medical healthcare in this country in America is horrible. It's horrible, and it just has to do with healthcare being a business transaction. It's just a way to make money. It's not about actually helping people. It's about making money. And we're seeing that, and of course you can say, well, it's also poor leadership, and it's corruption. It's all that, but I mean, it's just sad, like the pain and suffering that's happening right now is nothing to be flippant about. But I also say, like, should you really be surprised? I mean, is this? I don't know. So, like, what do I think? I think that a lot of what's being happened, eh, a lot of the writing was on the wall of this all this stuff happening, and maybe now we'll wake up. I think a lot of people will wake up. Many people will not, and people will stay in denial. But I hope, and I think that the people will wake up. But that's why I'm here. I want to I want to wake more people up and encourage people to wake up. Maybe they're like wake they're up in the bed and they're like, nah, I want to go back to sleep. I'm the type of person like, no, no, you need to wake up. Come on, let's go. Let's get out of bed. Let's act. Let's like make a change. Let's fight against this corruption. Slavog Zizek, yes, yes. Yeah, that's the guy's name. He is like, and the person that mentions this, Doctrine Marx 39. He's okay. Yeah, he's my favorite philosopher. Yeah, he's not like, I don't put him in the same category as like Peterson or Harris. He's he's cool. I haven't read a lot of his stuff, but what I have read, it's like, okay, at least I can take you seriously. Like, you know how to present an argument. You know how to like do the research. Yeah, he's a decent philosopher. Uh, so he won a debate, and he isn't even Marxist. Well, see if he's saying like he won that debate, which everybody's saying you need to watch this debate. I'm like, I'm not seeing that spectacle, but that doesn't surprise me that Zizek will win, because he takes his philosophy seriously as opposed to the his debate opponent who doesn't really take philosophy seriously. Sadly. Yeah, yeah, that was just a mess. I'm sorry. The debate. Okay, let's see here. Any questions? Hard to say. That's um. Oh yeah, this is interesting. What time we got? Uh, so I've been on for an hour, and I don't really have a time limit. But if people need to, you know, I don't have to tell you. If you if you want to leave, you can leave. It's like, I don't have to tell you that. But I'm staying for a while. I ain't going nowhere. So let's continue here. Vogel Wide or Weed von der Vogel. Yeah, this person brings up a good point. Hard to say that Zizek isn't a Marxist. He declares himself a Hegelian, but those two aren't self-excluding. And that's interesting, because I remember I was talking to somebody in the YouTube comments about how this person was saying that, oh, Marx is a nobody because he basically copied people like Hegel and Kant, which he did not, right? But Marx was heavily influenced by Hegel. He has huge influence. Um, Hegel deeply influenced him, and you can see that in his work, The Capital, how he puts a lot of rigor. He's like basically why Marx is amazing to me. Not only the insight of, you know, to say that capitalism is exploitative is kind of obvious, but but to say how it is exploitative, that's what was good about Marx. That's what was amazing. Marx really put the rigor and did the work, and so this is exactly how capitalism exploits people. With a fine tooth comb. He really, just like how Hegel really goes into extreme detail about things, Marx does that too. And if you read Marx, you can see, oh, okay, you got some Hegel inspiration, because a lot of the way you break it down is the same way Hegel is doing it, but you're doing it with analyzing economics, which was new. Like he talked about economics in a Hegelian way, and I think that's pretty good. Uh, what age of philosophy do you find the most interesting? I find today's the age the most interesting. Old school philosophy is cool, and that's mostly what I do. But today, I think we are at a new era of philosophy. I think we're at a kind of a, not a tipping point, but a new epiphany. Because a lot of people, now philosophy, and this probably was the case back then, right? People think philosophy is a waste of time, and they think like, um, it's some sort of elective that just people sit down and they smoke their pipes and they discuss about like the existence of a does a chair actually exist. But now I think we are really I think we need to realize again how important philosophy is, and I think that's why it's so exciting because we are now, and it's not even a movement yet, but I think it can be, and I want to be part of that. Where it's like, no, what's happening? Like for example, this social justice movement. What's going on is like, okay, what does it really mean to be human? For example, we talk about like gender studies, and we talk about like, people are now saying they are, I am non-binary or I'm genderqueer, and it's back when I was a kid, you were either a man or a woman, and you're female or male and but and I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, and people are going to be like social justice warrior, blah 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 blah, and identity politics. But I think what's happening now is people are starting to like reevaluate what it means to be human, and like we put people in boxes, right? And you might accuse me, it's like, well, aren't you doing that by calling yourself the Black Ponder? No, what I'm doing is I'm putting I'm highlighting what is race? What is race? What is it? It isn't. It's a box, and it's one of the reasons why I call myself a Black Ponder is because now I'm putting the discussion on the table. Right? I'm like, oh, how are we defining what it means to be human? You know, and how does race influence your humanity, or your gender? Like, and there's so much more to being human than what we've known in the past, right? Some people are like, I don't identify as a man or a woman, or sometimes I'm a man and sometimes I'm a woman. And so a lot of people are like, well, that doesn't make any sense. So you're not, that doesn't, you don't know what you're talking about. But I think you can use philosophy to say, oh, wait a minute, actually, that's a thing that could happen. That's the thing that could happen. And yeah, so I think now, currently, today's environment, um, philosophy is we're now like, like I'm saying, like we're examining what does it really mean to be human, right? And yeah, I think that's very exciting. That's very exciting. We're no longer at the point of, uh, you know, is that table an actual thing? Like we're past that. We're now talking about like what is existence. Like we're at the second, whatever existentialism was, we're now like at the next level of existentialism. We're like, okay, we talked about the human experience, and now we're talking about, oh, we're really seriously talking about what does it mean to experience I guess humanhood. You know? So I think it's very exciting today. There is a good quote from, okay, okay, one question. Quentin Ferrari. Ferrari. Oh, I'm an idiot. Quentin Ferrari. One question I do have is about where to start with the philosophy of identity. Yeah, this is exactly what I was talking about. I don't know, man. uh, Fernando Pessoa's poetry. I'm really bad at pronouncing names. Just disclaimer: poetry isn't directly philosophical, but I like his view of identity as fragmentary and evolving. Yeah, well, I don't know Fernando Pessoa, but I'll take your word for it. Yeah, the philosophy of identity. That's what I'm talking about. Uh, I mean, this my favorite philosopher, which I mentioned before, Judith Butler, Professor Judith Butler. I think she talks about identity a lot, and I think that's a great place to start. You could start. I made a video about it, gender trouble, and that's exactly what I was talking about previously, about how gender is performance. It's a performance. We had this notion, and I did when I was a kid. You're just born gender. You're just born a specific. What how you're born is what determines who you are. And now we've come to like this gender studies and even feminism. I would say like they're putting, they're saying no, like how you're born does not determine your biology does not determine uh, who you are, right? Your identity, and your identity is it's complicated, right? So I would start with Judith Butler. College debt is the result of the failure of capitalism. Well, uh, doctrine Marxist, I would say that college debt is like, I mean, capitalism. I mean, college debt is the goal of capitalism. Isn't it like, I mean, I mean, that's the whole point of. I mean, as Marx would say, uh, capitalism is exploitative, and they've capitalism has turned education into capital now, right? Education is now a commodity, which it should not be, but it is. It's a victim of capitalism. I guess you could say like capitalism. I mean, college debt shows how one of the problems with capitalism. But I don't know. I think college debt just is capitalism working at its finest, right? Like that's like capitalism working perfectly. Okay, Wyatt Wright, what I meant was that after World War II, there was a post-war boom in high welfare spending. Yeah, I mean, there was a post-war boom for some people, but there was not a post-war boom for a lot of other people. A lot of people were still suffering after World War II, and they did not advance. But a lot of people did advance, but not everybody. And then now you have to ask, okay, who are the people that prospered and who were the ones that didn't, right? And a lot of those people, you can break them down via race, ethnicity, gender. You can break them down that way. You'd be like, oh, I'm starting to see a pattern here. Yeah, putting a price on education is itself morally wrong. Uh, I agree, but sadly, a lot of people would probably disagree with that. Like, which is, this is the world we live in. Okay, let's see. Sounds cool. Yep, and it's a lot of back and discussion with people within the chat, chatting with each other, and that's great. Right. Only vintage lenses. They put, I wish I could go back to school and get my degree, but the idea of going even further into debt and the possibility of failing scares the shit out of me. Yeah. And they're trying to keep, and I don't want to I don't want to sound like conspiracy theorists, but I mean, I don't know. I feel like when you don't have education, you don't have power, right? When you don't have knowledge, you don't have power. And then some of people will argue like, well, you can do your own studying now. You can just go on YouTube and find tutorials, or you can buy your own textbooks on the cheap, and you can study on your own. But it's not the same, right? It's not the same. Like I went to college and I studied. I got a degree in computer science, and there's no way I could have learned like how to computer program like by myself. Like I know some people do, but I needed experts to show me, like interact and tell me like when I did something wrong. I mean, there's a huge part of teaching or learning is like that interaction you get. That's not like virtual, right? You know, so I mean that's a part of education. That And taking that away from people is like limiting their power. So yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I have not read Thomas Ligotti. I love your channel. What do you think of Nietzsche? What do I think of Nietzsche? I agree with like 50% of what he says, but at the 50% I agree with, I I strongly agree with. So he's great. I think he's great, but the other 50% I disagree with. I strongly disagree with. So and that's nothing wrong. That's cool. It's okay to agree with somebody on some things and disagree with somebody on other things. I think that's something that we're losing in today's society. It's okay to not agree with somebody on everything, but agree with some people with that same person on other things. That it's fine. Oh man. All right. Well, trying to see how long. I'll try it maybe another half hour or so. We'll see. Because I was like, I thought I was going to the end, but it turns out the comments just popped. I just more comments just came out of nowhere. Okay, we'll keep going. Uh, Soro Chintar Krindi. Any interesting themes, comparisons, differences you've noticed between Eastern philosophy and Western philosophy? Uh, yeah, I'm sure there's a lot that I can't think of. I will say, like in Eastern philosophy, and then, so first of all, I want to say, like I've heard this argument where people will say, well, there is no such thing as Eastern philosophy and Western philosophy, right? Um, they all influence each other, and they've all come they're just philosophies that are in different parts of the world, and they've gone back and forth throughout the ages, and there's no separation. That's sort of kind of true, but at the same time it's kind of not, because if you go to college, for instance, and you study philosophy, what are you going to learn? You're going to learn the Greeks. You're not going to be given much philosophy from you might get a little from Asia, but it's going to be mostly from the West, right? You're not going to get anything from Africa, I'll tell you that right now. Barely anything from the Middle East, right? So it's true. Uh, it's true. It is true when it comes to like the reality of it, of the truths of it. But the reality is there is a separation, because what you learn, the establishment does separate the two. I will say, but I will say, like Eastern philosophies, like Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, uh, those philosophies, Jainism, those philosophies, they don't have much of a separation between religion and philosophy, or even theology, as does the West. Like in the West, like Christianity and Islam, and although that's Middle East, but still, I would say in Judaism, there's a difference. There's a difference between there's the religion, the spirituality or spiritualism, and then there's philosophy. It's like two different camps. Now there's philosophy of religion, right, which talks about religion in a philosophical way. But I find like in the East, there's it's the same. Like I mean, the separation isn't as significant. Like Hinduism, you can take it as a philosophy completely, and you don't have to at all subscribe to the religious aspect if you don't want to. Same thing with Buddhism. You can just take that purely as a philosophy, um, and you and it's valid. As with Christianity, for instance, you can't. You have to like there. You have to. embrace the religious aspect of it, and 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 you can't just say, "Well, I just take Christianity as a philosophy, and that's it." It's like, well, then you're not completely a Christian. You would they would the Christian establishment will not consider you a Christian if you only took in the philosophy and didn't embrace also the religious aspects. And I would say that's a significant difference between the two, Eastern and Western. Would you ever do a top 10 best worst philosophy books? No, because that you can't do that because it's different. It's gonna be different for each person. Yeah, it's gonna be different for each person. There's so many good philosophy books that resonate with different people. There's no way I could do like one for my personal self. Wow, I think that would be kind of a waste. Uh, I mean, my top 10 philosophy books are going to be very different from any one of you people, in the chat, which is fine. Which is fine. There's so many good ones, and I might think a philosophy book is really bad, but you might think is really good, and it might not necessarily be that the philosophy is bad. It just means like it doesn't vibe with you. You don't agree with it. Like I love Walden by Henry David Thoreau, but a lot of people don't really. That's not really their cup of tea, which I understand that. It focuses on a specific thing that many people will be like, well, no, I actually like thus spoke Zarathustra. That speaks to me way better. Um, so that's fine. Are you a fan of Kierkegaard? Yep, I like Kierkegaard. He's cool. Have I read works by Customato? No. Lolita was pretty weird. Okay, I haven't read that one. It's a classic, but I know it's about an old man that falls in love with a minor. So yeah, that's kind of but apparently it's a classic. So teach us to outgrow our madness. I can't do that. I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist. Hey, hi there. Hello, Max Technology. I got into philosophy by reading Kierkegaard. Kierkegaard is also another great place to start. I actually have right now his book. Oh, it's backwards. It's too bad, but it's the sickness unto death. We got this mirror effect going on. That's a great book to start reading if you're kind of a beginner, and if you're trying to get into existentialism. That's a good place to start. Uh, Zizek talks about this. Oh, okay. I'm late to the party. Just looking to see any more questions. Yeah, I think it's better. Uh, yep. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Hiro. He says Ben is a grifter who says that whatever gets him sponsors. Ben Shapiro. I only mentioned it because there was people who were like trying to get me into some buddies of mine. They're like, "Oh, you're into philosophy. You should get into Ben Shapiro." I'm like, "Who the hell is that?" And I started looking at this guy. I'm like, yeah, no, yeah, no, that's a big no." Like I wouldn't even call him. I don't mean to talk shit about people, but at the same time, and like you said, grifter too. It's kind of like, do you even believe in what you're saying, or are you literally? Sometimes I do think that. I think like people are they're just saying whatever they need to say to make money. It's like another negative of capitalism. It's like you're not really, you can't be saying this actually believing it, but maybe you are. I remember Ben Shapiro. I think he talked. He criticized that song "WAP" by Cardi B, right? And Megan Thee Stallion. He did that for an hour. Like it was a long ass period of time where he just was just really criticizing that. So I'm like, damn man, you don't have to spend that long of a time. Like if you don't like the song, you like the song, but it's like after a while, dude. It's like, yeah, he started like analyzing lyric by lyric. It's like, come on, man. Uh, let's see here, just everything. To learn more about transcendentalism, I would read Henry David Thoreau, and you could also read, read Walden. I also I have a collection of Penguin Classics. I won't get it. It's on the shelf. It's like the Walden collection by Penguin Classic Edition. Uh, Let me see the other guy. I forgot the guy's last first name. Trans. Oops. Oh, Ralph Waldo Emerson. Yeah, check that person out too. Ralph Walden Emerson. I'll put it in the chat. Oop. Okay. And we're just Yep. So 10,000 crows in a trench coat. You're right, Mr. Ponder. Things have been bad for a while, and we're just seeing it for what it is now. Thank you for your answer. But, so now that they've been wrong for a while, let's do something about it. Let's start like acting to make some things better. You know, uh, that's important too. Don't just talk about it, be about it. What do you think about the current? What do you think about the current trend of hyper politics? I don't know I guess you're talking about like the partisanship, like the extremism in politics. Do you like these radical Republicans and radical? I mean, uh, I mean they're bad. I guess so. There's the term leftist. We'll focus on that a little bit. Leftist, right? And I don't know. I just don't see them as the same. I mean, both have their extremes. You got the alt right, and then you have leftists. But is an alt right person, it can be as bad as extreme leftists. I don't know. Maybe that's my SJW side kicking in, because what is you think of these extreme leftists. So what do you think of socialism? Okay, that's not like the worst thing in the world. Like I'm not like anti-capitalism to the extreme, but healthcare, free healthcare for all. Sounds good to me. Free education. That's good. That's like, is that like an extremist? I mean, uh, so I guess the first thing is like, okay, how do we define, the ideas? Because a lot of these, like, when you start getting into the alt right, like the really far, am I even pointing? Yeah, that's right. You start seeing like Confederate flags and like, women back in the home. And it's like, these really bad ideas, or, you know, yeah, I mean, it's just really bad stuff. So, first of all, I guess when you say hyper politics, I don't know specifically what you mean, but I think there is a difference between the extreme right and the extreme left, and I don't think they're equal. I don't think they're equal. The sublime object of ideology is, yeah. One day I'm gonna make a video about that. The sublime object of ideology. Yeah, because I was kind of I didn't read all of it, but what I was reading was, it's pretty not bad. maybe a dumb question, but do you have trouble getting yourself to read? I have like 9 books. Only Vintage Lenses asks, maybe a dumb question, but do you have trouble getting yourself to read? I have like 9 philosophy books I still need to read, but I'm always too lazy and watch videos, lectures on YouTube. Yeah, so I'm an exception to the rule. I read books for entertainment. Like a lot of people will watch like Netflix or Hulu or Disney Plus, and I'm not. Just read books. I don't watch TV anymore. I just read books. So I don't have problem getting myself reading, because reading books is like watching what's the hot new show out today? Uh, Not The Walking Dead anymore. That show's like not hot anymore. See, that's how much I don't watch TV. I don't even know what the hotness. Oh, The Mandalorian, for instance. That's the hot stuff these days. I haven't watched that yet, but I do read Hegel. I get that enjoyment. So no, I don't have any problem reading books, but I know that's like not most people. So I guess you could just read what you like and just watch videos. You can watch videos and lectures. You just got to be careful, because it's hard to know if what they're telling you is like actually what's being said in the text. And especially nowadays, everybody's got an agenda. That's why I like to quote or read quotes directly from the book, so you can make the decision. Like, okay, I heard the quote. Is what the Black Ponder say? What is it being said in the quote? Because I said the quote. So that's the only thing with, I don't have any problems watching videos about books, but I've seen so many videos where people talk about books, specifically philosophy books, and it's like you actually read the book later. It's like that's not what he said at all. It's like, and then you're like, were you trying to make me believe something just to suit your agenda? Yeah, so you gotta be careful about that. Have you thought about collaborating with question mark? Have you thought about collaborating with other philosophers on YouTube? I would love to do that. That'd be great. Um, yeah, if anybody wants to reach out, I find philosophy channels difficult to find. Yeah, they are very hard to find. That's one of the reasons why I started this YouTube channel. There's a few really good ones. I put them on the sidebar on my. Although I don't even know if that exists anymore. I think the latest update on YouTube took that away. Suggested YouTube people. Uh, one of my favorites is Dr. Gregory Sadler. Just giving a shout out. He's pretty cool. I think he's my favorite one. He's an actual philosophy professor. He, um, he knows his stuff. But he's very academic. It's like going to college, looking at his videos. So if you like that, that's cool. There's this other one called Closer to Truth. That's a very good philosophical channel. That's like watching PBS, which I like. Is they just talk about philosophy topics, and they actually do interviews with living philosophers about like very really deep philosophical topics. What's the other ones? I used to like. I don't like them so much. I mean, they're still cool, like Philosophy Tube and ContraPoints, right? And those kinds of Hbomber guy, I think is David. I find they used to be a lot cooler. Now I think it's because they went on Patreon and stuff, so they're doing a lot of their best content just for the patrons. Which you got to make your money. Capitalism, and you got to survive. So I get it, but at the same time, it's like, man, it's a lot of performance and a lot of theatrics and it's a lot of aesthetics, and it's the content um, is not as there as much as it used to be. Uh, So there's some good ones out there. Those the ones I mentioned. I couldn't do a collab video with them. They're just too big. They're too huge. I'd be like, I'd reach out and they probably wouldn't even respond. It'd be like, but there might be some collabs in the works, and I'm not opposed to that. Philosophy Overdose. Yep, that's another good one. Um, that's more like a podcast. It's just that Philosophy Overdose is more podcast style. which is fine. Which is fine. I guess that's kind of like my channel. So yeah, there's a few. The problem with race is not just that. Yeah, we can talk about this a little bit. Von der Vogelweed. Oh man, I'll just say your first. Von der. The problem with race is not that we categorize people, but when we claim that one category is superior or lesser. At least that's my opinion. Once you lose that idea, race is just surface features. The thing is, though, I mean, you're all right. That's that. Race. Race is a fiction, and it's used to infer superiority or inferiority to people, and it's wrong. The thing is, though, we have to like acknowledge that like our society is structured off of this, and you can't just like pretend the problem away. Like if you say to yourself, okay, I'm just not going to acknowledge that race exists because it actually doesn't, the problem will not go away, right? Because our institutions are built off of this construct. So we have to like call the problem out and then like actually act as if it is a real thing, because it is a real thing. It is influencing our society. So it's not enough to say like, oh, I disagree with it, or you know it's a bad thing, and then just that's it. Like you got to be like, it's a bad thing. um, we need to do something about this, and we need to take steps to dismantle this thing that's in our systems. Right? We have to act. We can't just like talk or say like, oh, that's bad, I don't believe in that. And it's not like Santa Claus, where it's like you realize Santa Claus doesn't exist anymore. You're like, okay, I don't believe in Santa Claus anymore. And now it's just there's no more Santa Claus. Race isn't like that. It's like you can't just say like, oh, I don't believe in race, and it just doesn't go away like that. you know, we gotta take steps to get rid of it. So I know. Good evening, Lolita says good evening. Love your channel. Thanks. Oh, it's fine. I'd ask more questions, but what I mean, we've been talking for almost 2 hours, so it's fine. Yeah, it looks like I had I didn't think I was gonna get that many questions, so I had a talk prepared, but we don't need that. Yeah, Butler is also, yeah, they are cool. Have you ever read economic philosophers like Adam Smith or Hayek? Hayek? No, I have not. Is the tree of knowledge and the tree of life the same thing? It's the same tree. I don't know, but I don't think so. But I'm not like a biblical expert, so I don't know for sure. I'm not like a religious historian or theologian, so I can't answer that question um, with confidence. It's not the same. It definitely helps to have a teacher. Yeah, it's not the same. Question mark in terms of like learning on your own. Some people can do it. Some people are just good and they can just do it. Many people can't. Like I'm one of those people who couldn't just like uh learn calculus on my own. Right. I because I just it's too much. Like I took college classes on calculus, but I needed like teachers to like when I did something wrong. Like I can only imagine if I just bought the textbooks and I did them myself, I would be doing the problems wrong and I wouldn't even know that I was doing them wrong. Right? You need somebody to correct you and stuff, or like point out your mistakes. So it's not the same. What do you think about Buddhism? Buddhism is great. I think Buddhism is a great religion, philosophy. It's not my religion, uh, but I don't have a problem with it. I think Buddhism is cool. Can you elaborate on the 50% of Nietzsche that you don't agree with? Well, I talk about that on the in the video, several videos, but one specifically is I think is Beyond Good and Evil. I think that book really does. It does highlight what I disagree with because I disagree with that book. Where Nietzsche talks about how you should go beyond morality and transcend morality and ethics, right? And ethics and morality are just like things that lock you down. And what you want to do is you want to create your own morality, right? Uh, and then use your own morality as a way to transcend to higher awareness, a better a better life. But like we were saying before, right? Morality, and you can't just create your own morality, even if you because Nietzsche also says, well, also study hard and really focus on your philosophical analysis, and you will discover your own moral basis on your own. Uh, but no, like you need people to help you out with that. That's one of those things, right? You can't you Morality and ethics, you can't learn that on your own, right? You need other people, and you need to debate about that, right? Because you might think something is right, and then it turns out like no, actually it's not. And the only way you can find out is going consulting somebody else, looking at going in somebody else's shoes, and being empathetic. One conversation. Sometimes I have conversations with my wife about this, uh, where are there universal, morals like that all the world should, like anybody should adopt, or is morality relative? Like there is no one morality or one ethics. Is only there's. I mean, that's the two sides, right? There's good and evil that applies to everybody, or there's just good and evil that applies to specific groups of people, different societies. But I would argue like one universal morality is consent, right? Consent, like somebody giving somebody permission for you to or to act on somebody, right? Consent is universal. Like it don't matter whether you live in Africa or Asia or North America or Mars or Venus. Like it's good to have consent, right? Doing something that's outside your control, like something that you don't agree, you're not in control of, that you don't want to do, but you're forced to do it. That's some unethical territory, right? That's some unethical territory. So I would say like, and a lot of people don't think that. Some people think like, consent, like the concept of consent isn't really a thing that we don't talk about in society these days. I mean, we're kind of starting to talk about it now because of the Me Too movement and all of the stuff that's been in the feminism in general. But that's something that we should discuss, right? And if you just do it from a Nietzschean approach, it's like, well, I'm going to enforce my morality on it, and I'm going to apply that to everything. Well, maybe your morality gets in the way of somebody's consent, right? That's a bad thing. Uh, so that's something I don't agree with Nietzsche on. Uh, Eastern philosophy recommendations beyond Buddhism. Yeah, you can do Taoism, which is the Tao Te Ching. You could do Confucianism. I've done a few books on I think the Analects, right? I think I did a video on that, which is Confucianism. That's some Eastern philosophy. You could do like the Art of War. That's some Eastern philosophy. You got the Book of Five Rings. That's some Eastern philosophy. That's not Buddhist. Yeah, there's a lot. Just go on my YouTube channel and check out the playlist, Eastern philosophy, and you'll find several books that aren't Buddhism that are very good. Yep, Zen philosophy. There you go. Oh, isn't Zen a school of Buddhism? I'm not even sure. How do you remember the contents of all the books you have read? How do I remember the contents of all the books I've read? Uh, yeah, well, I make videos about them. A great way to remember is to like either make a video about it, or if videos didn't exist, I probably would have like a blog site. If YouTube didn't exist, I probably would have this would be a blog site where I would write essays on the books I read. That's a great way to remember writing essays. I also like flag my books uh, with tabs and such, and then it's easy. And then it makes it easier for me to go back and read the quotes that pop up to me, and then it just all comes back to me. Like once I read the quote that really stood out to me, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this, and I remember like all the surrounding ideas around this quote. Um, that's why I'm a pro of like slow reading. I'm like for that reading slow, not reading fast, because if you read slowly, you remember more, right? And then you can even like stop and and make a video, or even maybe talk into a microphone or like record yourself talking about what you learned. That's a great way. Let's see here. Have you read Search for a Method or Critique? How can you memorize complex philosophical arguments and allow it to sink in? Shit, I don't know. I know that's the thing. Like you have to do when you study philosophy. Memorizing. I can't do that. I'm sorry, man, that you have to do that. I don't know. Can't help you there. I have 4 exams in 4 months. I'll just reread the books, read them over and over again, but maybe you don't have time to do that. Yeah, I don't know. You need to ask somebody else. I didn't study philosophy in school. I just did it on the side for fun. Okay. Okay. Lolita hates the book Lolita. uh, am I planning to make other videos like Waking Life, philosophy movies? I might. One of the issues I had with Waking Life, I didn't even realize this, but it's obvious, right? In retrospect, like I got actually when I put that video out, I got like a bunch of copyright flags because it's a movie, right? So it's copyrighted, and I was putting like excerpts of the book on the video. And I was like, oh, I forgot about that. Like, that's a thing. You can't just do that. So I got a lot of copyright strikes. But fortunately, I was able to. Well, what was interesting is like a lot of those strikes weren't for the actual movie, they were for the music in the film, which is kind of interesting. Uh, but I use that angle where it's like this is for educational purposes and it's a review, so that helped me get rid of most of the strikes. I think all of them. I just used that. So it's and I think, but I also think it went away because that movie isn't that popular. I'm not sure. Uh, I guess I have seen some YouTube videos where they review very popular films and they use excerpts from the film. So I guess that's the thing I can do. But that when that happened, I was discouraged. I'm like, yeah, I probably not do movies anymore because I get those copyright strikes, and it was just a hassle to deal with it. But yeah, maybe I should go back to that. Do some anime. What benefits has reading philosophy given you? When did you first get into it? Okay, okay. What do you deal with? Let's see how much more good stuff I got. All right, I gotta start putting a time limit. I'll just be here forever. We will stay for. Although I don't have anything to do, but I think we do need to maybe 30 more minutes. 30 more minutes. We at the 2 hour mark. So 30 more minutes. So MJ writes, what benefits has reading philosophy given you? When did you first get into it? How do you deal with things when you struggle to understand them for the first time? So what benefits has reading philosophy given you? Oh man, so much. I am able to talk to people who I disagree with in a civil way. I mean, that's a huge benefit. I'm also able to digest very complicated information, which is important. I'm also able to cite sources, right? That's cool. That is so valuable to present an argument, and then people will be like, "Well, how do you know? Like, where are the facts?" It's like, "Oh, here you go," and then that puts people that gives people a huge pause. Oh shit, he this is a reputable source. So that's a huge benefit. Critical thinking skills have gone through the roof. That's cool. Yeah, so philosophy uh, has helped me debate and present arguments in a way that's better, and have improved my civil discourse. And how do you struggle with things I don't understand for the first time? You just got to reread. Keep bumping into my laptop. You just got to keep rereading the same book, and you don't have a problem with that. We do live in this world, and where like reading as fast as possible and reading the most books as much as you can, that's like what's valuable. But I'm all about quality over quantity. Right? So if it takes you a month to read a book, take that month. If it takes you 2 months to read a book, you might read a book in 2 weeks, but you're like, man, I didn't understand 90% of this book. Well, you're gonna have to reread that book. And it just don't have a problem with that. I can't have that. Like, dang, now I can't add that to my book count. Well, what's more important, your book count or your reading comprehension? I don't know. Have you heard of Fred Moten? This is Nadia. Asks, uh, no. And Nadia, I am waiting for that your monogram or your monograph because I know you're into photography, and check her out and her Instagram account because she got some really good photos on there. I am like into photography too, but I'm not an expert in photography by any stretch of the imagination. But I'm a fan. I'm a fan of photography, and she's great. Yeah, but whenever you come out with your book of photography, I'll be the first one to purchase that book. Have you heard of Fred? Yeah, I haven't heard of Fred Motassari. I highly recommend. Okay, okay, I'll put him on my list. Ooh, he speaks on the study of blackness and the function of education institutions. Okay, Fred Moulton. Okay, cool. What do you identify politically? I would say I'm independent. I am. I think I'm registered as a Democrat when I go to the polls, but I acknowledge like there's plenty of flaws with Democrats in the Democratic Party. Uh, but again, I'm like one of those people who are like, yeah, because some people are like, there's two sides of the same coin, and Democrats are just as bad as Republicans. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I see one side clearly a lot worse than the other. I'm not saying Democrats are like angels, but some of the Republicans, they're just like, damn. You're like, but I would say like I'm an independent. Uh, have you? Have you read? No, I have not read Mille Plateau. I'm really into glitch music, and a lot of philosophy behind it has to do with the book. Okay, I will notate that. This is Bovovnikov. Do I have a Goodreads account by Rosie? Nope, I don't have a Goodreads account. I'm too lazy. So many people say you should start a Goodreads account. I should, but I just don't feel like it. I got so many other social media accounts. If you want to hit me up on YouTube. I got an Instagram, which I don't barely use. But even less, I use my WordPress blog, which I haven't blogged in that years. I got Facebook. I'm on that. Hit me up or wherever. What all the other? I think that's it. Oh, Twitter. Hit me up on the Twitter. But no Goodreads. Have you heard of Logstrup? No. Sorry. I should do this more often. Maybe I will, Quentin. Maybe I will. I don't think I'll have as many questions, or maybe I will. I'm surprised that I got this many. What's up, man? Where you been? Uh, are you saying like where I've been? I don't post as much. Yeah, I'm reading a lot more long books. Uh, Philosophy books that are like 600-700 pages, so it takes a while. That's why I don't post as much as I used to. I'm reading longer philosophy books, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. So I'm here. I'm around. I'm reading, doing the same thing I always have. Oh, okay. Somebody says sorry. No, sorry. By hyper politics. I misunderstood what hyper politics are. I meant mixing of hyper reality with politics, entertainment and conspiracy merging with mainstream politics. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Entertainment and conspiracies. Right. Because we have a reality TV star as the president of the United States, and we're starting to see these weird conspiracy theories like QAnon. And there's actual politicians in senators in the House of Representatives who believe in these weird conspiracy theories that are not backed up by any evidence whatsoever. Yeah, this is crazy, man. Again, you gotta be able to process information and know what distinguish between what's true and what's not true. And how do you do that? You look at the facts. And when you live in a society that thinks it's okay to reject facts, and when you say that there's a lack of evidence, you don't even acknowledge that. You're like, well, I don't care. I'm gonna do what I believe. I mean, this is what happens. You get these crazy situations. That's why philosophy is so important, I would say, and debating is so important. I think it's like we got to call out this, lack of factual information. Cuck philosophy. I think he changed his channel name. Okay, I don't know. School of Life is a joke. School Life. That's another philosophy channel, or used to be, that I kind of lost interest in because it started more getting about like relationships, and I don't mean to talk shade, I mean, it's fine. It's a fine chat, but they used to really talk about that YouTube channel was all about more so philosophy. Now it's more about like, relationship advice and like love guru stuff. Like, what is this? But I guess it's the author, like the person in charge of that was always into that. And I think, I was looking at the guy, the person who's in charge of that. He's an author and he's written a lot of books about love and the nature of love. So I guess that's the guy's angle. But I kind of lost a lot of interest in that channel. But it's still not a bad channel. Company spreading ideas like the main guy. I forgot his name. Okay. How do you feel about phenomenology? Phenomenology I think it's cool. I think it's great to study, what is a phenomena, and, the nature of occurrences as they happen. That's important. Basically studying reality. What is reality? And then you don't want to get too abstract, right? Because then you'll start like getting into this world where you can't apply what you're saying to real life. But that's why I feel like if you can apply it to real life, that's cool. When it starts getting a little too abstract, that's when it's becomes a problem. Let's see. You should have a weekly podcast to talk about current events. I could, but that might be a little bit too much in terms of my work. If you like are into that, you are extremely articulate and nice to listen to. Well, that's great. I don't think I'm gonna do a weekly podcast. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. I like to keep the Block Ponder laid back and relaxing for me. I don't want to make it work, but thank you for that compliment. Uh, Tree of Life and the Tree of Knowledge are the same thing. Okay. What are some of your favorite books you've read on this channel? One of my favorite, the ones I give away. So check out my ceremonials playlist. The ones I give away every year. Those are my favorites. So it will be cast this year. I think what was last year was those religious books, the Freedom, Faith, and Why Religion. Those are amazing books. And I think what was it? Invisible Man Got the Whole World Watching by what's his name? Michael Denzel Smith. Yeah, I think I gave that book away. Or was it? I think that was the one that I liked a lot. I forgot. But the books I give away are my favorites. Let's see. Bible Project had a dope. Yes, okay. Interesting. Hello. What am I currently reading? I'm reading the History of Philosophy, Volume 2 by Hegel. I recommend reading the Upanishads. Yep, I've done a video on that one. What's the best Islamic philosophy book you read? I've only read 5 on this channel, and they're all equally as good in terms of quality, for in my opinion. So any of those books, check out Islamic Philosophy playlist. Yeah, man. I'll wait. Are you doing a video on Being in Nothingness? Yes, I will eventually do a video on Being in Nothingness by Sartre. Uh, I will eventually read that book. It's gonna be first. I want to read Hegel's Phenomenology of Spirit, and I've read it like a quarter of the way through before, but I didn't finish it. So I want to read his lectures, and then I'm going to read Phenomenology of Spirit, and then I think that's after that. Then I'll read Sartre's Being in Nothingness, and I definitely would. That's one of my milestones for this channel was doing a video on that book. So yeah, that's a goal of mine. Are you doing a video? Make notes. All right, book report. I like that laugh. Jordan Peterson's Maps of Meaning. I think that's the one I didn't care for. If you're into Peterson, I'm not trying to make fun. You're and that's cool. That's valid. But I do remember before I started this YouTube channel, I was looking for other YouTube channels, and I'm pretty sure I stumbled upon Jordan Peterson's channel. Uh, a while back, like before I started this channel, so that'll be like over 7 years ago. Um, and I'll never forget. Like I think that was his channel where he was just doing these maps. He was doing these graphs on the dry erase board. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I don't know. It was like these very complicated diagrams and maps. Like that was the whole like a lot of his videos were him just doing these maps. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that was him. And I'm like, yeah, I need to start my own YouTube channel because at that time there are very even less philosophy YouTube channels, and a lot of them, most of them were just these really abstract, you know, really out there channels. It felt like almost like, are you guys just showing off, trying to like flex your intellect, and like I can't really use this to help me in my life. but, but I don't know. I might have been wrong. That might have been, it might have been a different channel, but I think that was Peterson. I think that's what got him popular from the first, before he came out with these books, was those maps, those videos of the maps that he did. You should really. Oh yeah, I'll consider doing it more. I don't know. The live streams. How often do you read outside your comfort zone? Well, my comfort zone is very large, meaning like I'll read stuff that I disagree with. In fact, I like doing that. So I don't really read books that are outside my comfort, because there's not many books that are outside my comfort zone. Uh, yeah, so I guess I don't zone unless familiar with. Do you find it more pleasurable to do so? Yeah, yeah. So I find it more pleasurable to read books that I'm unfamiliar with and that are like complicated and I disagree with. What's my opinion on the philosopher Ichile Ichil Mbebe? I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know. I don't never heard of the person. You should enable super chats. Yeah, I think I have to monetize to do that, which I haven't done yet because I actually kind of find ads really annoying, and I'm like, not on my channel. But I don't know. I might like stop being an elitist about that. What are your thoughts on anti-natalism? Oh yeah, man. I just heard that was the thing. Like I knew that was the thing, but I heard that the word they used that was the word they used to call it that. And it's like a word for everything, isn't it? So antinatalism is the idea that nobody, you don't have consent to, you didn't ask to be alive. So the act of bringing somebody to life is wrong, from my understanding, or like because it's kind of like violates consent because you didn't ask to be alive. So so a lot of people that are really into that antinatalism, they're like, that's why I don't have children, because I don't want to bring somebody into this world they didn't ask for it. Uh, Valid. Valid. I mean, I love my life. I mean, that's very fortunate. I understand the privilege I have to say that, because a lot of people are, their lives are really bad. So I mean, that's not I don't see that argument as crazy. Uh, I'm really into adoption too. It's like, well, if you don't want to have if you want to have a child, consider adopting, because there's a lot of people that you didn't bring into the world, but they're here, so maybe you can make their lives better. So, but maybe antinatalism is that they're all about that. I don't know. I haven't really researched it. Uh, yeah, if you feel that way, adoption is a cool alternative. Yeah. Thanks for the shout out. Yeah, I really do like that old school photography that Nadia Marion does. Yeah, I'm really into the film photography, just the vintage look of it. So yeah, I like that. Uh, it's a sad. I also encourage you to do more streams. Okay, okay, I'll consider the stream more often. Terrible. Yep. Lobster analogy. Yeah, that lobster analogy. I just don't know about that. What do I dislike about Marxism, collectivism, materialism? Or can you put all those in one group? Or I don't know. One thing I'll say about Marxism or Marx is he believed that eventually the proletariat or the what is it, the working class will rise up and revolt against the capitalists, and I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's not going to happen. So that's yeah, it's because we're too, the proletariat and or the working class. We're too satisfied with our iPhones and our Netflix accounts and our Marvel superhero movies and our Cardi B's music singles. you know where that satiates us, and like Monday Night Football, and that's gonna keep us tame, man. uh, so I think that's what I dislike about Marx, that idea like someday we will rise up type of. It's not gonna happen like that. Instead, we gotta be more, I think, more philosophical about it, and like talk about like the pros and cons of capitalism, because there are some pros of capitalism. Now I know, hardcore diehards socialists are going to be like, "Oh hell no," but there are some pros of capitalism. Now, that's not to say that capitalism is perfect, and capitalism is extremely flawed. That's true, but there are some good things about capitalism. We got to be smart about it, and integrate the good things of capitalism and the good things of socialism. And I don't think we should have one or the other thing. I think we need to be a little bit more uh critical of that, or just talk that through a little bit more. I think like YouTube, for instance, YouTube wouldn't exist if there was no capitalism. Now, I mean, perhaps some socialists would disagree, and they would say like, well, social YouTube is kind of a socialist platform without all this ad monetization and all that. I don't know. That's something that we could talk. I mean, that could be a whole live stream in and of itself, just to talk about that. Let's see. Have you ever listened to Terrence McKenna? No. It's an amazing start with him. It's amazing. Can't remember your discussion on his work, but would you say your religious? Okay, this person asked Revolver Ocelot, which is a Metal Gear reference. uh, yeah, Metal Gear, from the video game. Metal Gear Solid reference. Am I aligned with Kierkegaard's religiosity, or at least his view on Christianity? Yeah, for the most part, I am. I am. Did you pick someone yet? Yeah, we did that in the early part. That was the first thing I did. I guess he just never showed up, which is it's all good. I will his Columbus Moore. Columbus Moore. He's the winner of the giveaway, and I will contact him and mail those books to him. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's too bad. What's your view on sexual work, the porn industry? Well, I'm one of those people who does not think sex work is immoral necessarily. I think it is, just is a form of entertainment, and it can also be an art form. Certainly. I do think, again, we got to bring up capitalism again, and I acknowledge there are lots of flaws with capitalism. I do think the industry has made the porn industry very exploitative, and a lot of people get exploited. Um, a lot of sex workers get exploited, and that has to do with capitalism. That also has to do with patriarchy, right? Because we feel that uh, sex work is some sort of inferior work, and it has to do with a lot of sex workers don't fall in line with that traditional uh, role that a woman's supposed to do. They're not in. When you give the sex work a means to, the sex worker is allowed to make a profit off of, you know sex, right? Now they got some power, right? They got a means to support themselves, and that's something that, using sex as anything other than making babies, right? Or promoting male pleasure, that's, the society is going to have a problem with that. But I think if we look at it from a more feminist point of view, I think there's nothing inherently wrong with sex work. I think it's fine. I think we do need to. The industry has a problem, like with all other industries, right? There's the exploitation is kind of an issue. But no, I have no problem with sex work. Of course, I couldn't bite the bullet on new books. Yeah, these books are expensive, man. You know, I'm in a fortunate position where I can afford them, so I give them away. But yeah, these books are expensive, man. This book was, well, it was on sale, so let me say that. But the cover price, the retail price is $32 USA. That $32? It's a lot of money, man, for a book. Now it was on sale, so it didn't cost that much. That's a lot of money, man. Books. That's kind of a shame. Hopefully, you can at least the check these out at the library. How do you acquire your books? Do you buy them cheap or somehow? Well, I like to support the when I can. I like to go to the independent bookstores if possible. Now, the problem now with that, you're going to be spending a premium, and because independent stores, they don't have the hookups, and as the mainstream bookstores do, corporate bookstores, so they got to charge. You're gonna have to spend more money, but I'll do that, because fortunately I can do that, and I just buy less books. But do I buy books on Amazon? Yeah, I do. I buy books on Amazon too. Uh, I look up, check out books at the library as well. Not so much anymore because of the dang pandemic. But yeah, I try it to support the indie bookstores when possible. Local university, yeah, that might be something. Is it ethical to to shoplift Barnes and Noble as a poor person of color? Uh, I don't think it's a good idea, man. Think you should look into looking at your library or going to like a Goodwill store or something, or a flea market. Although that's going to be hard nowadays with the pandemic. Uh, maybe, well, I was going to say ebook, but then you have to buy the expensive e-reader first. So, although if you got a computer, you can use the Kindle app. I don't know, man. Do you? But yeah, I wouldn't. I ain't, I'm not going to tell you to shoplift. That's not good. Think you'll get to being in time? Yes, that's another one I want to read eventually. Eventually, I will get to that. Uh, yeah, because Heidegger is definitely another philosopher I want to get into. Do you find Amazon unethical? Yes, just as unethical as any other corporation. Well, again, like, but at the same time, you can't. Some corporations are worse than others. Um, yeah, they do some shady practices. Um, I personally do know. I have many people that I know work for Amazon. I know people that work at the warehouse. Some of those people, they quit because it was bad. But then there's some people I know who work at the warehouse and they're fine. They're like, it's cool. It's just a job. I also know some people that are like, uh, senior managers that work in the offices of Amazon, and of course they love it because. So I don't know. I mean, is Amazon as unethical as Bank of America or like uh, what else? Disney. you know, I mean, corporation is going to corporate. I don't know, but yeah, they do some shady practices. Books shouldn't have a price. I mean, really, but uh, I understand they have to support the artist, but at the same time, it's like this is when the socialism argument comes in. You should just stay. And a writer and who's an artist should just get paid just because they're providing a service to society. Uh, so I'm not saying you're wrong. All right, almost gonna call it. I'll do. Let's see. Is there any last questions here? What's your take on ancient Egypt civilization and Egyptian philosophy? I don't know. I haven't. I don't know. Maybe you can recommend me some Egyptian philosophy texts because I'm not familiar. I'm not hip to that. The book is in the public domain. Project Gutenberg is a pretty useful if you don't want to buy it. Yep, I'm reading Hegel's lectures with Project Gutenberg. His lectures you can buy off Amazon, and the books are like 150 bucks, or you can just read them off Project Gutenberg, which I'm doing now. So yeah, I'm all for that. How have your political, personal, ideological, and emotional perspectives evolved upon getting into philosophy? Uh, okay, that's the last question from Lily Pads for Space Shuttles Honey. uh, how have your political, personal, ideological, and emotional perspectives evolved upon getting into philosophy? Yeah, let's start with political. Uh, so a lot of my ideas, like most people, you grow up, you're born in a family and a society, and you just have these ideas by default. You just have these ideas by default, and it's not like people are even like arguing for or against these ideas. You just grow up into them. So I grew up in the Oakland, California. I would call it the ghetto because it was like Boys in the Hood. If you ever seen that movie, uh, it's just a black family, a single parent. Uh, and I always thought like all politicians suck, but Democrats are like slightly better than Republicans, and that's all you could choose. And so I was like, okay, I guess Democrat. And then we knew about Green Party and all the other libertarian, but they were like a waste of time. Why would you join those parties? Because we live in a two-party system. But over the years, reading philosophy, I've diversified and learned about more about politics, and it's like it's not that simple. Right? So I would say like you know I learned more about like it's not about choosing sides, it's about like ideas, and it's a lot about society control, and it has you know politics are complicated. Or personal ideological personal Hmm. I don't know. I guess personally I've gotten more open-minded over the years, open-minded, um, ideological. Um, yeah, like, I grew up religious Christianity and I'm still Christian, but my understanding of Christianity has changed dramatically reading philosophy. I started reading more theology and uh yeah, I just don't, a lot of things like for the Bible, I used to think like the Bible, everything that was said in the Bible was true. But then you actually like think about it, use critical thought. Is like, yeah, there's some you can tell like, I'm not a literalist anymore. Like I understand like the Bible was written by many different people over throughout the ages, and it was written for more than just it wasn't is all not all just the word of God. Right? A lot of it is written by people in power trying to maintain power, right? So there's a lot of like historical context, and there's a lot of like uh, instilling rules in the Bible. So that's just changed, and it's all because I read philosophers and theologians. Emotional perspectives. Emotional. Yeah, I used to be one of those people who thought, like, for example, feminism was like most people. Feminism's just a waste of time. I was not sympathetic to like gay issues, and I didn't hate gays or anything like that. It's just that was my default. That's what I grew up in. But over the time, I learned like, oh, actually, no, feminism, it has a lot to say. That's positive, and LGBTQ plus issues are very important, and they're very similar to racial equality. Right? It's kind of like it's discrimination based off of who you are as a person. And I learned over the years, like I've changed with that. So philosophy has given me all of that. Yeah, so I transform all the time too. Each philosophy book I read, I get better. I get better. Um, okay, one more question. What makes you more inclined to Christianity rather than another religion? I love what Jesus has to say. What Jesus is saying in the gospel, that I fell in love with that teaching. You should read it if you haven't read it. You should read what the man has to say, or what the I mean, he says some really profound stuff about his radical love the neighbor as thyself. All some of his ideas are very feminist. I mean, he was good buddies with sex workers. you know, the he was all about helping the poor, and he hung out with the poor. He's very socialist in his ideas. It's he, I fell in love with his teachings. That's why I like Christianity, because I like what Jesus has to say, and he's like, I think if I follow his teachings, like, I will live a better life. That's why, as opposed to like other ideologies, which they're cool too, but I really like, as opposed to like the Buddha. I mean, he has some cool stuff to say too, but I just gravitate toward Jesus. What he says, it's really nice. But let's cut it there. Let's get it there. Yeah, 2 hours 30. I was not thinking that I would. I thought I was going to get 4 questions, and then I was just going to just have to make some. I prepared like a little talk, because I was like, oh, nobody's gonna talk to me, so I'll just give a little speech. But I didn't have to use it. Maybe I'll keep that for another video. And a lot of people are saying I should do this again. We'll see, maybe. We'll see. But thanks to all the people that dropped by. I really appreciate it. It was a blast. It's been 7 years doing the Black Ponder. Wow. So hopefully 7 more years and more than that. I would love to continue doing this. This is fun, it's enjoyable, it's life enriching, and it's life affirming. And I will cut it here. So, to the next time for more philosophical thought.